Are you ready for the top 5 movies of 2003?
Yes.
The
No,
most
this is like
excited you've ever sounded.
only because it was difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was a couple of like real big movies, and then a lot of like middle movies.
And a lot of bad movies too. You're gonna hate my list. I'm just gonna tell you.
Well, I already know what your number one is, so it doesn't matter.
No, you might be surprised. I'm throwing a major curveball that is gonna be annoying, but we'll see. So let's start it off. I'll start off this time. My number 5 is Something's Gotta Give. And you probably don't recognize it by the title. So I'll tell you, it's Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton, romantic comedy. I think it's directed by Nancy Meyers, if not somebody like that. But it's a great, fun Jack Nicholson movie where he plays this, of course, larger than life character that he has a heart attack when he's with this younger girl. He's a womanizer, of course, but then he ends up falling in love with the girl's mother, which is Diane Keaton, who she also ends up having a large age difference affair with Keanu Reeves later in the movie as well. So just to keep it even more interesting, but it's just a lighthearted, fun, romantic comedy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's probably one of the few Jack Nicholson movies I've never seen.
Really? You'd have to add that to your list. Yeah, I think you and the wife would enjoy that one.
What was the name of it?
It's called Something's Gotta Give.
Yeah, it's almost like as good as it gets.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they were trying to capitalize on that title that also no one can remember. So yeah, it's a fun one. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a movie that we've already talked about in the past.
Yeah.
The Big Fish or Big Fish.
Oh, Big Fish. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I forgot that movie was that year. Yeah, that was a good one.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, a really big cast.
Yeah. Ewan McGregor, Billy Crudup.
Yeah.
DeVito was in there.
Albert Finney.
Yeah.
Jessica Lange. Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, right.
Did she not ever play a bad person?
No, I think she's pretty much typecast, and she's in like all Tim Burton movies too. Aren't they husband and wife?
Well, except for Harry Potter.
Ah, yeah, right.
That's not a Burton film, but she does play a bad person in there also.
Right.
Who'd you say was also in
it? Billy Crudup and Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. And Steve Buscemi is in it also.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito.
Yep, DeVito. Yeah, he was great in it.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good father and son story.
Yeah, I think that's where it came up on the father and son thing.
Yep.
So his father's always telling like these big tales, movies, and it started out with telling the story about how he caught this big fish with his wedding ring and stuff like that.
Right.
And like his son always thought that the stories were all made up. They had no factual truth about them at all.
Right.
Until he started like trying to go to these places that his father talked about.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
so
then,
not to give away the end. Yeah,
all these people were true. They came to his father's funeral.
Right.
I mean, the stories were a little exaggerated.
Exactly. Just exaggerated, but it was cool to see.
A very good story. I mean, there's a lot of funny parts in it.
Yeah, a lot of good. The circus stuff is ridiculous, and
the circus stuff is ridiculous. Falls in love with this girl. Danny DeVito, the ringmaster, said that he would tell him, who you would tell her something about him. And I
Yeah.
think it like took 4 or 5 years for him to, to get the whole thing out of him.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, pretty great.
And I
So
think Eddie Vito winds up being a werewolf or something.
I think so. Yeah. Ridiculous, man. That's great. Well, good pick. Okay. So my number 4 is another comedy, A Mighty Wind. This is another Christopher Guest directed comedy that is just like Best in Show in style, where it's filmed kind of like a fake documentary kind of thing. And this one lampoons folk music from the 60s.
Lampoon Zoo?
Folk style music from the 60s.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
kind of like Simon and Garfunkel, but even more on the folksy side of things.
Like the
Like,
Kingston Trio?
yes, exactly. There's a trio that's very much like them. I can't remember the names, but that's the what I love about this movie is the details. Like, all the band names that they pick are ridiculous, and like there's this one group that, so the whole story is like this producer died, so they're doing a tribute concert, and they're bringing back all these old folk artists that are now older, and they're talking about the good old days. And the trio that has Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, and Christopher Guest, which also happen to be the 3 guys that do Spinal Tap. They play this trio that like the stories they tell about their records used to be square shaped or something. Like, so they wouldn't turn properly, and just all this ridiculous stuff. And then Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy play this this duo named Mitch and Mickey, and they had this song where something at the end of a rainbow, and they kiss at the end. So the whole thing is, are they going to kiss now, all these years later? And it's just really funny. The best character is Fred Willard, who plays this kind of producer guy, and he has this spiked up hair, and he keeps talking about this old sitcom that he used to write for, and they would have all these catchphrases, which one of them was, "What happened?" And so he would just say, "Hey, what happened?" And these people would just look at him like he's an idiot. It's so great. So
You like all these like weird comedy things.
yeah, I don't think you've seen it, but I don't think I made you
You're
watch
right.
that one.
I haven't seen it.
Another one to add to your list, because it just it makes fun of folk music, but in a loving way. So I think you'd enjoy it. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Master and Commander of the Far Side of the World.
Okay, I have not seen that one.
Oh, you should. Yeah, it stars Russell Crowe
Yep.
and Paul Bettany.
Okay.
Okay, so this takes place during the Napoleonic Wars,
Right.
and it, they're down like around South America,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole idea is that Britain wants to establish supremacy down there, so they send his ship down there,
Yeah.
and it opens up with there's a fog,
Yeah.
and then like one of the seamen thinks they see something in the fog, but they're not sure, and then it like vanishes,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they see a light,
Uh-huh.
and Russell tells everybody to hit the deck. The French ship is now firing on them, and it like blows the shit out of the
Yeah.
ship.
Right.
It still survives, right? So the rudder is gone, so they can't maneuver. So he sends out the lifeboat things with
Mm-hmm.
the crewmen in it, and they're rowing the ship into the fog. to
Oh,
try to
wow.
hide from the friendship.
Oh, that's
That's how
crazy.
the movie starts out.
Okay. So there's some pretty good action sequences, obviously.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some really good action sequences. But one of the things that surprised me, I mean, it's pretty accurate
Hmm.
about like the ships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the thing that surprised me was like how many kids they had on the boat.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like maybe 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-old, and these kids are in charge of the seamen.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're almost like, I mean, it's a midshipman with one, but one of them becomes a lieutenant.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like really amazing. And the seamen listen to them. I mean, they're giving orders and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
during battle and stuff too.
Yeah. Man.
So, but it reminds me a little bit of Moby Dick
Oh, okay.
because so now Russell
Hmm.
Crowe, his character, is it's got this thing now that he's got to get this friendship.
Okay. He's like obsessed with it. Yeah.
Right. And this ship is bigger than his, has more men than his, and has more firing power than his. But
Yeah.
he's got to get this ship.
Yeah.
And he's chasing it
Right.
after they repair the ship and the rudder and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's chasing it up the west coast of South America.
Yeah. So he's got a death wish, basically.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
and like the ship surgeon, who's a friend of his,
Yeah.
starts telling him he's crazy about this thing.
Right. Right. Was he as good as Ahab, like in comparison? Like, because I think
Yes,
Gregory Peck as
he
Ahab
has.
is classic.
He finally, at the end, he wins,
Oh, wow. Okay.
but he wins by trickery.
Ah,
I
very
won't say
good.
how, so people should watch the thing.
All
But
right.
even though he beat the
Yeah.
captain, right?
Uh-huh.
The captain still beats him in the end, and I won't tell you how.
That sounds very confusing, but okay.
No, he captures the ship.
All right. All right.
But there is a surprise ending at the end where the captain still beats him.
All right. And wait,
Except
how
for the-
is it? Isn't this movie like over 3 hours or something, or no?
It's a
I,
long hour. I'm not sure how long it is,
all
but
right.
yeah, it's a long movie. But it's really not that boring. I found, like the slow parts,
Mm-hmm.
I found it very interesting and stuff. Because in the middle of the thing, when you get to the Galapagos, his ship surgeon is also a naturalist and stuff.
Right.
And and then it's like they're telling stories too, and they're entertaining each other with songs and stuff. So
Okay.
you're learning about what they actually did on
Right.
the ships when they're really not doing anything except drinking grog and the
Right.
ship going.
Yeah. What else are you gonna do but drink grog?
There's no women.
Right. Exactly. Well, okay. Well, good pick. I'll add to my list. So my number 3, you may think this one's higher on my list. I'm not sure if this is the one you're referenced, but Lost in Translation.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be your number 1.
No, it's not. I mean, as you know, I love Bill Murray and pretty much anything he
I
does.
know. That's right. But even though it's not, the direct.
It's not Wes Anderson.
I
No,
know.
that's the problem. Yeah, no. I actually, this is this movie has a lot of funny moments, but it's really more of a. I don't even know if you'd call it a romantic comedy because it's almost more of like a friendship that he has with Scarlett Johansson. I mean, it ends up turning romantic towards the end, but he plays this larger than life actor or he was anyway, and he's in Japan, And then Scarlett Johansson is also in Japan with her husband, played by Giovanni Ribisi, who's a photographer, and not having a great time. But they keep meeting up in this hotel at different times and form this friendship in a totally different culture. And it's really well filmed, some really beautiful cinematography, and a great performance by Murray, who's in just this marriage that obviously is not good. And it's not your typical kind of affair movie where it happens right away and there's all this regret and stuff. It's almost like this earned friendship that turns into something more. And yeah, I just not one that I've gone back to a lot of times, but I thought it was really well done. So, and it earned Murray his first Academy Award nomination, which he did not win, but he probably should have that year, I thought. So
Yeah, well, any movie that's got Scarlett Johansson has got to be a decent movie.
yes. And this was one of the first ones before she was like a household name, and she's also in her underwear a lot in this movie, so that helps as well.
Yeah,
So.
she was also in another movie that year too. Something with the pearl earring.
Oh yes, yeah. I think it's just called The Girl with the Pearl Earring.
Yeah, the girl with the
Yeah.
pearl, famous painter. Painting.
Yeah.
So it was like she was the woman that was being painted or used as the model in the
Right.
movie, and she has like this little like romance going on.
Yeah. But she was really great in the Lost in Translation too, as far as you could really kind of feel her, you know, not sadness necessarily, but just kind of not knowing where she is in the world, and also in like kind of that whole in your 20s, you don't know what the hell you're doing kind of thing. And Bill Murray comes with the wisdom of a 50-plus-year-old who I mean, he's also got his own issues, but at least he's seen a few more things. So
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie yet, but it's on my list to see that movie.
what, you haven't seen it?
No,
That's
I
crazy.
did.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to see that
Yeah.
one. It's good, and it's definitely got some funny moments that revolve around just being in Japan and not being able to understand certain situations. There's this hilarious scene where Murray is supposed to be doing this commercial for a Japanese whiskey called Suntory, and they keep making him do it over and over again. And it's just hilarious how he keeps going, it's Suntory time, or whatever he has to say. It's so stupid, but it's pretty great. So so what's your number 3?
My number 3, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah, I almost put that as my honorable mention, but yeah, great choice.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this was the first of, I think, 4 movies. I
Yeah,
think one of them was a part 1 and part 2. I count that as one movie.
they've made too many, that's for sure.
But I still think that the first one was the best one.
I agree, absolutely. Just like with Lord of the Rings, for me, I feel like the first one was the best, and then they went downhill. These went horribly downhill. Like they got infinitely worse as
well,
they
they
went.
did. They really did. I think
The second one wasn't bad. The third one, like they just started getting way too long, and like
yeah, the one where like the dead people were like floating alongside the ship. That one, where I think it might have been in 2 parts.
Yeah.
That one was like really long.
Right.
And
yeah, but no, the first one had, everything you would want from a Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
right,
And really Johnny Depp makes
right.
it.
And this was the first movie based on, this is where like they're really getting hard up. I mean, they went to from books to comics, and now an amusement park ride.
Right. Yeah. And probably even some inspiration from a video game, the Secret Monkeys or
Yeah,
whatever that
right.
game was, because you get a lot of that feel in it too.
Yeah, and that was a Disney thing too.
Right.
No, was it? That was Lucas.
Oh, that was Lucas. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
that was Lucas.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun
But I mean,
movie.
the special effects with them going back and forth between, skeletons and humans, and
Right.
even like parts of their bodies were like, like how, with the moon coming down, parts
Yeah.
of their bodies were like, human, and then other parts of their bodies were like skeleton and stuff.
Yeah. The
And the
CGI
way
was
that they
excellent.
did all that stuff was, and the story was like entertaining also.
Right. Barbarossa was a good villain. I forget the actor who played him, but he was great. Um, and yeah, the CGI effects were awesome. The thing with Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom and
Yeah.
him trying
The
to figure out.
romance between them,
Right.
and stuff like that. And then of course Johnny Depp.
Yeah, he steals the show.
Yes.
Which
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, which he claims he based his performance on Keith Richards, which totally makes sense. I think he also
Did he
more
really say that?
yeah,
Only because Keith Richards turns out to be his father
that's right.
in one of the later episodes.
Yeah, that's why I think, because he
Yeah.
found out and wanted to be in it or something. But
And he played his father.
yeah, that's right. So yeah, Johnny Depp. I almost feel like he basically did his character from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas over again in this movie. Where in that movie he was a drug addict, and this one he's an alcoholic. But either way, definitely a fun performance.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
just when his entrance when he comes in on a ship that's almost fully sunken and just casually walks off of it.
Yeah, walks off to the thing.
Yeah, classic. There's a lot of great gags throughout the movie.
Yeah, and how he's the British look ridiculous.
Yes, right. Yeah, I like that aspect too, where totally, because they do look ridiculous.
they're definitely not like the British in
Master and Commander. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, good pick. All right, so my number 2. Now we're getting to the stuff that's really gonna piss you off. My number 2 is the best worst movie ever made, and it is The Room.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? You really did that?
Yes.
You really did that?
Based on my personal love of this movie that I've seen more times than any of the other movies so far on my list. for comedic value alone, it's so great, man. The most just Tommy Wiseau, his performance. I mean, it spawned another movie called The Disaster Artist, in which the person who played him was nominated for an Academy Award. That alone is so ridiculous. Because this Tommy Wiseau guy, man, the filmmaker and lead actor, was just totally clueless of what he thought was great movie making. Just the scene where he walks in and he goes, "I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark." Or when he walks into the flower shop and says, "Hi, doggy." And I mean, the worst acting. The movie makes no sense. It's but it's so great.
Was this movie actually in a movie theater?
I highly doubt it. Maybe one.
And I call foul.
Yeah, it shouldn't even count, really. But it's become such a cult classic. One of the greatest, well, not greatest, but one of the most well-known now cult classics of all time. So, You're tearing me apart, Lisa. I quote this occasionally. Like if my wife has a great idea, I'll say, "Good thinking, Lisa."
When did you
You
start?
always think.
So when did you start taking drugs?
Actually, the movie would have preceded anything like that, but maybe this movie can turn someone into a drug addict, I think. But
Well, thank God there wasn't a room 2.
oh man, that's a great idea. Actually, Wiseau did make another movie. I haven't seen it, but I plan to check it out eventually. So I'm surprised you didn't pick it just based.
I saw it and I ignored it.
Very good.
You could have did it as an honorable mention, but no, you did it as the number 2.
It might make the final list, baby. Chances are high. So what's your number 2? The best episode ever, man.
Kill Bill Volume 1.
Ah, that's a good one.
Compared to that, your pick, yes.
And I think it's the better of the two, actually, of the Kill Bills.
Uh,
I mean, it really works as a whole movie, technically.
the second one drags a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there isn't that much action in the second one as in the first one, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that especially, yeah, that whole
So
action scene at the dojo is really cool.
yeah,
That
yeah,
especially.
where she's fighting, 100 people in that movie and stuff.
Right.
But a great cast still.
Yeah. Lucy Liu was the one at the end of that one.
Yeah, Alma Thurman, Daryl Hannah,
Michael Madsen.
right, and of course David Carradine.
Yeah, Carradine was great as Bill. I mean,
to me, he just was like the regular kung fu guy in the TV series. He plays the same low key, what we'll call it guy.
Yeah, essentially, this is just Tarantino's kung fu series.
Yeah,
basically,
kung fu movie. He's got like it's almost like what's his name, the comedian guy that's got to make a comedy movie.
Jackie Chan.
No. Young Frankenstein. Who's the?
Oh, Mel Brooks.
Yeah, right. So Mel Brooks does it too. He's got, the horror film, Young Frankenstein. High anxiety. The birds, the horror movie. So Tarantino's basically doing the same thing.
Yeah, which I mean, he incorporates a lot of comedy into it. Not as much as Mel Brooks. I would say he's more of like an enthusiast of all these genres, and he tries to.
But he's doing the same thing. He's making a movie on the genre. He's not doing a comedy movie, but he's doing
his
version. He's not doing a spoof.
Right.
He's like taking the genre and doing his own.
Yeah, you can tell he really truly loves kung fu movies. Yeah. And Uma Thurman is great. And
I mean, the thing was there was like hardly any character development in the movie.
Yeah.
But the way the actors carried themselves and the messages that they were giving, made the movie flow.
Yeah.
Without character development.
Right. And it's a great revenge movie, basically, as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically all assassins.
Yeah.
Including Uma Thurman. And, her group come and massacre everybody at the reception.
Right. Yeah. It's a great setup for I would say it's probably one of the best. If you made a revenge movies list, it would have to be.
And then of course she doesn't die.
Right.
She's in a coma for 3 years?
Yeah.
But even that scene, like when she wakes up.
And she can only move her toe at first, and yeah,
Well, she couldn't move anything. She was like dragging herself,
right,
you
yeah,
know. And
yeah,
then,
that whole
yeah,
thing. And then
yeah,
the action scene in the suburbs is great, where she's fighting this mother, and then the little girl walks in, and they
oh
stop
yeah,
for a little
yeah, with
while.
the
Yeah,
knives and stuff like that. Then
that
they
was
have a
great.
cup of coffee,
Right,
and they're doing the little chat back and forth. And
right,
then the mother like throws
yeah,
a knife at her or something, and then it
yeah,
all starts again and stuff.
yeah. Lots of great stuff.
And
So
their code names are all named after a snake.
right, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah, and you get to know more of the characters in the second one, which I like the second one with the whole thing of her training with
Well,
the.
don't talk about the second one because that's coming next year.
All right, all right. I know what your list will be. So I know
Well,
what
you
your
don't know what my list will be. It could be an honorable mention.
right. Well, I know what your number one is
Well,
right
that's
now.
true. You do know what my number one is.
So
But yeah,
you probably have no clue what mine is then. Like I said, it's a curveball because it is a music documentary
I
movie,
figured you were going to do that.
Concert for George.
Yes, I know. I
The-
figured you were doing that.
This,
I didn't think you were going to do it as number one now.
yeah, well, I did it because it's my favorite live concert movie of all time, even above The Last Waltz, because of course, huge Beatles fan. George was my favorite, and there's so much emotion watching it because, of course, they put this concert on for him after he passed away. Eric Clapton organized it, and not only do you have Paul McCartney and Ringo involved, but all these different. You got the traveling Wilburys, Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne are involved, and then the Monty Python people show up who are very. George Harrison was a huge contributor financially to them, so they do some skits. Then the whole Indian thing, like the I can't remember the guy's name for some reason. They do like a little kind of Indian music thing in the beginning, but then it keeps building with more and more musicians. Billy Preston comes on and they do My Sweet Lord, and then they've got, at one point there's like 3 or 4 drummers and a whole orchestra, and it's just insane. And by the end they're jamming on wah wah, and it's just the best. So
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
all right, hey.
So that one didn't upset me at all because I figured you were going to do it.
Okay.
I was just waiting for it.
I see. Yeah, I didn't know you would think I would put it, especially at number 1.
You
but-
always do a music one. If there's a music one, you're going to do the music one.
Music is in my veins.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait for the one where you're going to do La La Land.
Oh, that's coming. Yes.
Yeah.
Be prepared. So your number 1, obviously.
Yes, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yes.
The last book of The Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yes.
The longest one also.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the movie wasn't really slow.
No.
I mean, it was action
Well,
upon action upon action.
not until the ending where they have like 5 slow motion endings.
Well, it wasn't slow motion, but yeah, but that ending was in the book.
I know.
And you got to remember too that they were going to the Undying Lands, and
Okay.
the only people that could go back to the Undying Lands were the elves and Gandalf.
Uh-huh.
The hobbits aren't allowed in the Undying Lands, but they made an exception. So that's why there was this big emotional thing at the end, with Frodo saying goodbye, because they didn't expect Frodo to be going to the Undying Lands. He was only given that because he was the ring bearer.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone. Sam didn't go, even though Sam was a ring bearer for a short period of time.
Well, I was ready for the movie to end, and it seemed like it took forever to end
Well,
because they had to keep
You
saying
would have
goodbye.
preferred the movie to end after Sauron was defeated,
Yeah.
and they picked up Sam and Frodo
Right.
at the volcano
Right. Right.
of Doom, and everybody got back, and then Aragorn became king,
Right.
and he knelt down in front of them, and Dan, you would like the movie to end there.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
but that's not where the book ended.
Fine. Well, that's just the one quibble I'll say is I think they could have at least sped up the goodbyes. That's all.
Well, the next time I see Peter Jackson, I'll let him know.
Yeah, well, hopefully for the Beatles documentary, he won't have them saying goodbye for 2 hours at the end. But
Yeah, I think he'll probably do Kumbaya.
yeah, that may be true actually, since he's trying to rewrite history. But yeah,
and of course, this is the movie that they finally gave Peter Jackson the Academy Award for, and won as Best Picture.
yes.
It took them 3 years to make that decision, but
And for the for that to be the all-encompassing thing of Lord of the Rings, that made sense, and I think deservedly they won. So
yes, and I mean, just the battle where they're defending Gondor, and you had King Theoden, die, and then his daughter killed the Nazgul. I mean, everything was there. The Nazguls were there, the orcs were there, the elephants were there, everything. It was like what, and then the dead people were there.
It was like the Avengers of Hobbit Town.
And then the dead people were there. Remember the dead people coming off the boat?
Yes.
That Aragorn enlisted from the thing. So all this stuff. I mean, that was like the big battle. And then his speech when they're surrounded by all the orcs and stuff.
And like you said, faithful to the book. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is interesting. So we have none in common. So Lord of the Rings is going to be number one. It had a higher grade than Concert for George.
Okay.
So George at 2, Kill Bill.
What was George? Anyway, what was the rating on George?
I think it was a 4.1, so pretty high. But Lord of the Rings has a 4.4.
Yeah. 4.4. Yeah. Which is a real high ranking.
Oh yeah. Can't get much higher on Letterboxd.
How many movies with 4.4?
Very true. Kill Bill has a much higher grade than The Room, so that'll be at 3.
Anything will have a much higher grade than.
Yes. The Room has a 2.6. I'm surprised it's that high. So The Room at 4, and then so now it's between Pirates of the Caribbean and Lost in Translation at 5. This is so great. Black Pearl has a 3.8. That might win. Let's see. I feel sorry for Lost in Translation now. No, 3.9. Yes. The Black Pearl is off the list.
I call foul on The Room.
It's a real movie, and it's you should go watch it, everyone who's watching. And all right, so what's your honorable mention?
The Last Samurai.
I thought you were going to have that on your list.
I did. It's number 6.
Well, yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, Tom Cruise movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
he plays a soldier from the 7th Cavalry.
Uh-huh.
The 7th Cavalry is a lot bigger than just whatchamacallit, Custer's thing.
Right.
So he's like down and out for all the Indians that he's killed, becomes an alcoholic. He gets an opportunity to go to Japan to train the Japanese so that they become westernized.
Right.
And he leads a battle against the samurai, and he loses. They capture him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's living among the samurai. You know, there was a little tension back and forth, but eventually the samurai begin to respect him,
Mm-hmm.
and he loses his alcoholism
Right.
and learns Japanese, learns their customs, and he almost becomes a samurai himself.
Yeah, you could tell that he became like in love with the culture and the code of their honor system, which prior
Right.
to that he was almost more of like an opportunist.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah, because he was there, he was just hired to train these peasants to be soldiers
right.
like they are in the United States and Germany
Yeah.
and France and England and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those areas where the samurai wanted to keep the old system.
Right, right. It feels a
So,
little like a Dances with Wolves kind of story,
yeah,
but with Tom Cruise being like just more of a alcoholic dick at the beginning.
yeah. And so, the time period was, is Japan going to stay feudal, or is Japanese, are they going to become like an imperial country?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and then, so that was the big thing. So unfortunately, the samurai lost to
Right.
Gatling guns.
Yeah.
It was like a massacre type thing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Japanese actor, is it Ken Wantabe? I think he was really good as well.
Uh,
Which I think he was also one of the guys
yeah,
in
I don't know what his name is.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I could be wrong, but yeah, he's
No, I
really
don't
good.
think he was in that.
Okay, see,
But I
yeah, I don't
remember
know. Yeah,
he
I'm
might have
probably
had a
wrong.
different part. I think you were thinking about the main character,
Yeah, yeah.
and no, it wasn't him.
All right, fine.
I don't want to say what I was thinking because that would be inappropriate.
I know exactly what you were thinking, and I was too. So,
Yeah, so I mean, it was a great historical film.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Cruise's part was fictional, but I mean, the
Yeah.
basic story was
Yeah. And
true.
Edward Zwick is really good at directing those kind of epic
Yeah.
war movies. But yeah, good one. So mine is Finding Nemo.
No, that was fine. I mean, Nemo did really
Yeah.
good, and it
Yeah.
was I mean, other than it was a kid movie and a cartoon.
Right. I think it's still one of the best Pixar movies, which is saying something because they keep coming out with great movies.
I know, the one right after the other. I mean, even their sequels aren't bad either.
Yeah, the Finding Dory was pretty good actually.
Yeah. And
So
then, even with like the Toy Stories,
yeah,
like the last one was the best one. And then
yeah,
the Cars series,
right.
and
Yeah,
then
there
the
are,
other ones that they throw in between,
right.
you know,
Yeah, but yeah, Nemo was a great story and
yeah.
really good voices and so yeah, okay, cool. So
That reminded me too, like on Kill Bill, they had like cartoon things also.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it was
That he
like, it was,
incorporated.
yeah, to tell some of the stories and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So let's read the final list. Our top
Let's not.
5 favorite movies.
I find this list to be embarrassing.
It makes me happy. All right. At number 5, Lost in Translation. At number 4, The Room. At number 3, Kill Bill Volume 1. At number 2, Concert for George. And at number 1, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm happy that The Lord of the Ring is number 1.
That was inevitable. I knew that was going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. But there was a lot of other good movies that year too.
Yeah.
Bad Boys 2,
Okay.
which I think was definitely better than Bad Boys 1. Mystic River,
Okay.
even though I don't like those type of movies. Monster,
Uh-huh.
The Italian Job.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I said Girl with a Pearl earring before.
Right.
House of Sand and Fog.
Right.
I trying to see. Oh, the Matrix films, even though the last one was a big disappointment.
Yeah, and people are already saying the next one is probably going to be disappointing.
Yeah, I mean Bruce Almighty did good that year also.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
And then the second movie, X2.
Right, right. Yeah, lots of sequels. We're getting into the time of sequels.
Yeah,
But,
I said that last time.
Right. So next year, you won't have any Lord of the Rings to fall back on. So we'll see what 2004 holds. Should be interesting.
Yeah, we have to wait for The Hobbit.
Yeah. Oh God. That you have to admit, they really expanded that way too much. That could have been one movie.
Yes, they did.
All
I
right.
admit it. And then the romance between the dwarf and the elf.
Uh-huh.
That was thrown in there, which I mean, I haven't read The Hobbit in a really long time, but I don't think that was in there.
Definitely not.
And then
Yeah.
they put things in
Yeah.
that was setting up things for the Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yeah.
So
they're tying them together, basically.
So technically, if you watch The Hobbit first and then the Lord of the Rings, you'd also have a better understanding of the Lord of the Rings because they're setting up things, in the Hobbit movie, which they didn't do in The Hobbit, but Jackson threw those in. Yes, I mean, The Hobbit could have been done in one film.
Yeah, easily. Which I know you're threatening me to watch all 3 Hobbit movies and all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in one day.
Yes, actually, it probably would just take 24 hours.
Is that all? Oh my God. That is torture, man. Well, I'm gonna make you watch The Room.
You did make me watch The Room, and multiple times. Lisa.
Well, that's a perfect way to end this episode. So we'll see you on the next one. Love you.
Love you too.
All right, bye.